My husband called me sensitive until I learned something crazier about him. My favorite flowers got violated, but things only kept going downhill from there. I'm a florist for a local shop, and I have a large garden at my own home filled with the most magnificent arrangement of flowers. I've taken great care of each plant, and over the years, it has made our house stand out the most in the neighborhood. So when I saw that someone had gone in and plucked several flowers from the ground and bushes, I was incredibly saddened, and instead of comforting me, my husband told me not to get upset since I'm a florist and I could easily regrow it all. But he soon understood what I went through when we had to rush to a barbershop the following day. His job sent out a late announcement about getting pictures taken for their new IDs. My husband had no choice but to squeeze in an appointment at the barbershop, and unfortunately, his usual barber was unavailable. He nervously accepted the newly hired barber and ended up with a short and horribly blocky haircut. He got incredibly upset and ranted in the car about how much he hated his new hairdo. When he saw I wasn't reacting much to his complaints, he asked me why I was acting so cold. I told him, "You can always grow your hair back." He got angry and told me that he hopes my garden doesn't grow back after all. It didn't matter anymore because I was at least going to find the flower thief and bring justice myself. Later that night, while my husband was in the shower, I opened up the laptop to pull up yesterday's CCTV footage of my garden and downloaded it onto my phone. I reviewed it on my own, knowing that my husband would just call me silly if I asked for his help, and watched the entire 24-hour footage. At around 10 p.m. in the footage, right around the time I typically took a bath, I saw my husband sneaking around my gardening tools and cutting up several of my flowers. Based on the ones he chose, it was clearly for a woman, but I never received it, and I never saw it around the house. I couldn't quite understand it, but I was definitely suspecting that something bad was going on. The following day, I told him I would be out to buy new seeds for the garden. Instead of going to the store, I drove out a few blocks down and hid inside my car, waiting for him to drive to his work. I followed his car at a safe distance and watched him stop by a different flower store from the one I worked at and drive back towards our house. I felt a bit relieved and a little bit happy, thinking that maybe he bought those flowers for me since I had been feeling upset about our garden. I knew I was wrong the moment I saw his car pull up the driveway of our neighbor's house. He sat in the car, fixing his hair before walking out to greet our neighbor with a quick kiss. He handed over the beautiful bouquet of flowers and stepped inside. I put on my sunglasses and face mask and crouched down while walking up the driveway. I peeked inside the window and saw them getting handsy with each other. But worst of all, I saw my beautiful flowers in a vase in the living room, positioned away from all the natural sunlight. I felt heartbroken, twice as much, knowing that my husband cheated on me with a woman who can't even take care of expensive, fresh flowers properly. I couldn't handle watching them anymore and ran back into my car and drove to work. I cried behind the counter, venting to my coworker. She suggested that I get back at them for hurting me. I agreed and drove to another plant store in the town that sold more exotic types and bought a fresh batch of poison ivy. I returned to my store and picked out a few flowers like rhododendrons and petunias, which symbolized deep anger. At home, I asked my husband if he could deliver it to that woman's house, saying that she had ordered it from my store last week. I told him to be careful, saying that if he or the woman touched it without gloves, it would be bad because it was an aphrodisiac. He happily agreed and took the flowers there. I walked over to the house and peeped into the window, watching them wipe the poison ivy all over their bodies, thinking that it would spice things up. I laughed and went home before I got caught. In the evening, a rash started to form all over my husband's body. I acted surprised and devastated that he now clearly used the plant to have an affair with the neighbor. I kicked him out of the house with nothing but his clothes and phone and watched him enter the neighbor's house. I made sure to film him going over to the neighbor's house as additional evidence for when I file for divorce. At least with him out of my life, I can find someone else who respects my garden the way I do.